Okay, friends, welcome back to yet another session to Thinking and Destiny after a long break. Before we recap and start our session, what Percival is taught for us today, let us meditate on his consciousness for a while. And please sit and take a meditative posture. Clasp your hands, cross your legs, and close your eyes. Please focus, observe your breath. Taking a vital energy from this cosmos and leave all your negative emotions. Breathe out. Our thinking is our destiny. Always do a positive and miraculous thoughts. Life will be very positive and miraculous. The thought that we are generating repeatedly, we are sending an energy into this universe. And that energy is getting manifested physically, if not today, tomorrow. So be aware of what kind of energy we are releasing to this universe. Our life is a reflection of our thoughts. Please place your palms on your eyes for a few seconds and open your eyes with a beautiful smile on your face. Just let me sound. So before we go further, we are in the chapter called re-existence. So before we go further, what was told today, what is that we actually captured or what we learned in the last session, right? So we'll see what are those things we have seen. So in the last session, we talked about the feeling and desire part of a person. So anyone, until this feeling and desire got neutralized, until then, this rebirth and re-existence will happen. Okay, so each and every person, the female, the soul which was taken into the female body, the feeling is dominated than desire, whereas the soul which was taken into the male body, the desire has been dominated by, desire was dominated than more than feeling. But so both are, so this domination should not be there. So at one point we have to get neutralized and then this re-existence will stop. So that is the time where you will not be more into the things. Okay, you will not be more into this material world. You will travel inward. You will attain peace, or you will find the peace or happiness within you than searching for the outside. So generally, the peace is within us. The happiness is within us, but we think that happiness is somewhere. So we are actually traveling outside, traveling outward, all the things. So when this feeling and desire was stopped, that inner journey will happen. Inner journey will happen where you will find your happiness within you. Yourself is contented. You yourself is enough to be happy. You need not have so many material things or so many other, so many friends or so many other souls that are around in order you to be happy. You feel that you are happy enough with your whatever the things that you have within you. So that's where we stopped. And also we talked about the earth crust. Earth crust, how within that, how actually the things were there in the earth crust also. Now to continue that, we are actually seeing that in the next section, that is the fourth, section 5, we are seeing the fourth civilization. That is the one that we are seeing. Earth changes, how the changes are happening in the earth crust, how the minerals and plants and flowers are changing, what are the various types, how it is actually changing. Suppose if you see, when we are as a kids, we have seen some plants and fruits, but whatever the plants and fruit that we have seen are not there in that time. We have seen so many different kinds of plants and fruits which are not seen in the previously, like 30-40 years back, what we have not seen. What Percival is saying is these are all our thought process, whatever the thoughts, human thoughts that is generating, right? So it is also changing the minerals and the flowers and the plants of the earth also. That's what he is saying. Since here in this fourth civilization has begun, many changes. So whenever this fourth civilization has changed, many changes were happened in the earth crust also. Because it is not like so important or like go and revisit this lesson again and again, right? That's why I didn't make any presentation, because you just need to understand, know how the changes were happened in the fourth civilization. Just it is better to just go through it and then move on. Here, rocks and soils are different. Whatever the rocks and soils that we are seeing are different from the different composite times. So as the earth changes, because at the time of that Big Bang or whatever the thing, so that time the rocks and soils are different. And now the rocks and soils are whatever that is available are so different. Even the earth that is there, which is so different from that to now, there are so many changes that happened. Changes in the surface distribution, right? The surface distribution has happened, land and water. Sometimes some of the land is in the water. Sometimes when the changes happen, that land which is there in the water has come out, and which is there already in the already there which on the land, right? So that has submerged into the water. So like this, there were so many uphills, submersions. So uphills, it came out, and so submersions are happened to the land. They were slowly, so during the long periods of there were sudden elemental changes with some results were also happened. Changes are acquired Some cases the changes have happened slowly for thousands of years. In some cases, the change might have happened overnight also. Okay, so many changes will happen. Liquids have become solids, and the solids have become gases, and liquids have become solids. So many changes like this. There are even with the minerals also. All the changes will happen. Sometimes the action of the fire was direct, and sometimes it is concealed in the water. Sometimes the water is the fire coming direct, and sometimes that fire is within the water. So how come the fire is within the water? If the fire is not within the water, how can you generate the electricity from the water, right? So we are also generating means the fire is within. So each and every element, these elements, right, they are within each other. That we have seen already. After one particular change has taken place, it sometimes succeeded in a short time by the another, or other times, sometimes whatever the change happened, it may be sustaining only for a small time. But sometimes when the change happened, that change will happen for continents and islands for undisrupted number of years. Sometimes this change is so many days it will be happen, it will be there. It won't change. It was this change will happen slowly. Sometimes that land, right, whatever that land that we are saying, this piece of the land is taken away by ocean very slowly and decompose. This land will get decomposed and it will be wiped off by the rains and rivers, and it will submerged into the oceans. Or sometimes the land can be precipitated by the air also. Sometimes what he is saying is this land is crumbled by sand and it was precipitated by the air. Air can make this land into the scrambled, and it can make as a very small pieces of the sand, and this land can quickly washed away like a sand. So the water, or sometimes the water may arise, and the water may arise and submerge this land into the things. Or sometimes the land itself will be open up and it will be subterranean in the ocean. So the land will itself will go into the ocean. All these changes happen before whatever the earth that we are seeing, right? Every time the earth is different. So all these changes have happened when in the fourth civilization. That's what they're saying, the earthworm. The direct of what is called, so here the direct, what is called the poles, right? The North Pole, South Pole, the changes. There are changes. Sometimes the changes will be happen very abruptly, and sometimes these changes will be gradually. So it can have, because of these pole changes also, we will see the adjustments. So whenever these adjustments are happening, whenever the sun and whenever this earth is changing, even the sum of the thoughts, because that will change because of the sum of the thoughts of the people that they are actually living there. So all these thoughts will form as an energy, and then it will happen. So a sudden change in the earth was slipped or fell over by the cataclysmic. Cataclysmic means sudden, what do you say? Natural calamities, right? When natural calamities happen, all the things, suppose there are some beautiful buildings in that city, and when some natural calamity happened, when all that ocean came into that city and it wiped off everything. So total city was wiped off. So because of this natural calamity, everything can be changed. So the natural elements, because the elementals can do anything. So elementals can do force this nature and can do. That's what here says this. There are people, suppose there are people who has the karmic bondage, like a similar kind of karmic bondage, and they have to die at that particular moment, or let us take. So all these people are at one place. So for this particular thing, what will happen is, the thing is, the natural calamity can happen, it can happen, the earthquake can happen, or some hurricane can happen. All these things can happen because all those people have similar kind of thoughts they have generated. If not now, they have generated at some point in time the similar kind of thoughts, where all these thoughts are coming as an energy, and they are getting manifested. When they are getting manifested, it is their thing, because their thoughts, they have to take it. So all that kind of people will join together. That is why we see there are people who are supposed to be there, they will move out on that day, because they thought they have not generated that kind of thoughts. And people who are not there from in that particular city also, they will come from long distance to that city in order order to get wipe off in these things, because this is all that their thoughts that they have generated. So in this thought, we may ask, are there not actually some of the people will also be affected? Yes, there are few percentage, couple of percentage of people who have not generated these thoughts also will get affected when this kind of natural calamities will happen. But in general, there are mostly the same kind of people will be there where they need, where they are actually getting affected. Here, there has been a continuous summer, sometimes icebergs, depth of the buried people, all these things, ice regions is happening, because these are all the changes that it is saying. The direction of the poles that of those of earth crust only, the direction of the pole are the on earth crust only, right? The layers of either side of the crust need not be polarized in the same direction of the crust, North Pole, South Pole, they need not be polarized in the same direction of the crust. So in that case, this fourfold earth, right? Fourfold earth means earth, water, air, and fire. So these are all the fourfold earth. So these fourfold earth will have an impact on the human beings. The magnetic and electrical currents. Here, what is saying, the magnetic and electric currents of the earth will also be drawn these forces into the industries, commerce, and travel, which the modern development, so whatever the modern development was largely dependent, right? All these things will be dependent. The same currents have not always been operative. May not be all the time the same currents will be there, but these currents will be operative and they will show the effect on that. They mark a different or they mark a very strong image, a strong power on the men's thoughts also. What appears in the magnetism? So magnetism, that's why they say that there are some of the phases that you should not, because the magnetic force is more. It is not about that thing, right? So if you are facing your head in this way, the magnetic force of the earth will be more. So your thoughts may be more. That's why people will say that don't keep your head that way and don't sleep that way, right? So these are all the things that they are saying. Magnetic waves of the earth will have a feeling on the human bodies also. These magnetic force will evoke your feelings, will evoke your desires. So these electrical currents will have that field of nature, and it will have an impact on your brain and on your thoughts. Different currents and different forces are operated on the earth. But in the water, not only in the earth, but also in the water, air, and fire also. So not only in the earth, the different magnetic and electrical currents are there. Even in the water, we told, right? Water, there is a fire. So even in the water, you have the different electrical currents and magnetic currents are there, which will be operating. These currents produce a phenomena which would seem strange to the persons, but present manifestations are known. So this seems to be strange, but these are all the manifestations of the thoughts. So whenever you are actually, the currents of the man's knowledge and how to use them gave an age of character of an earth, water, and air and fire age. So here, whatever the thoughts that you are actually generating, right, it is given an age to the earth. So in this particular era, people thought like this, people have done this, the roads are like this, the plants are like this. We have studied the history, right? Similarly, here he is saying, so at that particular point in time, whatever the thoughts that man has done, so it is indicating the age of the earth, water, air, and the fire at that particular age. So fourth civilization, I'm saying fourth civilization, these are all like this, because at that time, the earth age is like that and fire is like that. There were the parts of the ocean where which are seething, that no animal life were possible near them. There are the parts of the ocean, there's no animal life is possible in them at that time. So at some periods of the crust of the earth was great weight. Some parts of the earth crust is so weight, and some part of the earth was so light, like a plastic or a clay, very light. Some were moved in the. So there are some parts of the earth was moved in the waves of the water, but people were lived there. People were lived in that particular water, and they lived with the water. So Coming to the sky, clouds of the fire moving over the earth are discharging themselves and disappearing. Here, clouds of the clouds are, they are moving over the earth, are discharging themselves and disappearing. Now also the rain, how it comes, the clouds are actually discharging their water on earth and they are getting disappeared. And again, this water is getting evaporated and again making the clouds, right? So this is what here is saying. Battles of the fire and fire in the air, wars of the elementals of the water occurred in the different ages. Forces now unknown were active, put used by some of the people. Some of the things that we know now, right now, we don't know those forces, but those forces were put into the use in that fourth civilization. At times, there are existed the minerals, plants, flowers, which are no longer known. So we don't know some of the flowers that are existing at that time. We are no longer known because those were already changed. Those were already changed and they were not there at this generation. Medium of the nature of the forces eliminated, weight by any object which is applied. There were a medium where it could change the object weight by any things. But object weight is also could be changed with that particular medium. So see here, if you say, right, there are in London, there is a Stonehenge, that big stones, how they were moved from one place to the another. You see that the structure was placed, but nowadays we have a cranes and all those things that they can move it. But how in the world that they are able to move in that? So in those days, there are different forces are acting. There are different forces are available to the person. So where with that force, they are able to move that kind of big rocks also. Okay. But those forces those energies are not there in this earth crust. By the use of the small amount of the metal weights, see here, listen to this. By the use of the small amount of the metal weights, many thousand times greater than weights are handled like a feathers. By using the small metal, they are able to use the thousands of huge blocks of the stone were transported to use. Just now I told you, huge blocks of the stones were transported. If the rod of the metal was held in the left hand, so here, if the rod of the metal was held in the left hand and placed in an object, the holder would feel whenever that particular rod was placed in an object, the holder, whoever is holding that particular object, he would feel what is that object, what is the fragrance of that particular object, or what is that bitter or a sour, all that thing. With this rod, the user is able, whoever is holding, right, that human being is able to do that, which is no longer existing. We are not actually. Suppose if it is holding with the right hand, if it is at left hand, they are able to capture it. If it is with the right hand, then they can that is used with the soften the objects or crumble or dissolve the objects. If you hold the same thing with the right hand, then they used to with the smashing of that or dissolving that particular object, they used to use it, which those powers or those kind of energies are not available nowadays, which is available in the fourth civilization. By means of its gentle or anonymous heat could be produced. The heat was generated. How the heat was generated? The heat was generated from the air. Wood that would melt and consume in the distance itself, you are able to do that. Two metals were known and used to crest some of the waves of the high civilization. So there are two metals which were used. When applied the object, the oscillations of the air, the force worked through the metal and liberated the contact of an object. When you applied, here he is saying that there is a one black stone. In those days, there's a one black stone. When it is seemed to be a liquid, black stone or some black liquid kind of thing, when you are actually touching that particular thing, or when that object was touched with you, you are able to, because when that object was touched, the person is able to tell all the thoughts that he has without power of resistance. You would not, suppose if anybody asks, we can resist to explain our thoughts. We may tell some of the thoughts, or we may not tell some of the thoughts, right? But here, in those days, that black stone or the liquid that it is there, polished surface, whenever you are touching that particular polished surface, the people was fascinated and revealed all the things, all the truth, we can say, all the truths are coming out without without resisting. That is what we use in the movies, right? Oh, if you touch, all the truth will come, all the things, right? So these are all the some of the powers that we have in those days. There is another jewel in those days that is which is shaped in the convex or a concave shape. That light of the varying colors would be generated. So you can generate with that particular thing, with that jewel, we can generate the light of the varying colors. That now also you are able to see that some of the things, right? You can, with that particular crystal or anything, you can generate the light of the different colors. So how the plants are there? That is about the earth and all, right? How the plants are there. The family of the plants are existing that would grow stronger threads. See, there are the plants which would grow the threads itself. There were numerous varieties produce the threads. They are able to produce a number of varieties of threads. So some of them are producing the fine silk thread, and others are producing like a coarse or a gross kind of the thread. So these are the these plants are like a shapes like a shape of the sand dark brown, and open in the top, and they are shedding all these fibers. Okay, usually which are used for the threads. Now you can see that cotton, but they are saying that there's a silk threads are also producing, and all those things are available in those things. The product ranged through all colors, not only just that white. This product, the threads products were changed to the all colors and their shades, and the people wove into the fabrics. So by taking that thread, people started weaving into the threads. Some of these threads are resisted and disrupted by the fire. Some of these threads, even they cannot destruct with the fire also. Even if you put on the fire, those threads will not, nothing will happen to this fire. They were impervious to the water, so water will not be touched by that particular threads. So that kind of threads were there. There are the plants which were without roots. There are some of the plants that is without root. There are some of the plants are there, and they are moved about drawing and nourishment of the air. There were flowers that furnished indelible colors. There are some flowers furnished in the indelible colors. Flowers bring these flowers are bringing the sexual feelings of the people also, that affect because that sense of smell, that's how we are using all the fragrances, right? Some of the fragrances, if they are using that can be used as a seducing also, right? Some flowers as fragrances that are overpowering the things. There's some of the things are intoxicated flowers are there, catalytic states are there. Some of the flowers, if the smell that can brought you into the death also, that kind of thing. Some of the flowers instigated lust and greed in the people, and some of the flowers are impotence. They can bring even impotence, melancholy, or some of the flowers, if you smell, then you will feel depressed and you will face self-murder also. That kind of flowers are there. And the size of some of the flowers, the size of those flowers are used to be 3 feet. That kind of the flowers used to be there in the fourth civilization. Some flowers were like flowing in the golden hair, and others are like thick wax and left their stems floated in the air. Slum flowers could be grown almost in any shape desired. Any shape that desired, they can grow. Certain types of some of the flowers are grown like lizards, birds, and the butterflies as preferred. That kind of flowers are available in this fourth civilization. And coming to the leaves, usually the leaves means we thought the leaves are the green, right? But those days it is not, all the leaves are not, need not be the green. They are having that usually mostly the red, blue, and yellow and purple. Red, blue, yellow, purple shaped leaves are there, and the orders are different. And these orders affected the human beings and animals. Animals also it affected like flowers. These plants or these leaves were also affected. Some of the leaves look like flowers, or some of the leaves look like a fur. All the times flowers, leaves, and fruits were used for the healing in the industry. That is what in those days, right? We have seen even in the Sita Ainam book also. Those days, the healing things there are some of the healing plants. Even now we have it, but we just started, what do you say? believing, or we just started, we want in anything instant, right? So we just go for the allopathic kind of medicine without going to this traditional medicine based on the leaves or plants. But still, that is also Ayurvedic is based on that. There are the Ayurvedic fully, they are based on the natural products or the natural flowers, plants. That industry is totally based on that only. At different times, the shapes and qualities of the trees are varied much. In those days, the shapes and qualities of the trees are varying in a different, their diameter was different, their height was different, they were like 100 feet high trees in those days, which is not common nowadays, right? There were hundreds of feet of the trees are there, very high trees. That wood can be used like to construct the whole home. The woods are known indestructible by the fire. Those woods are indestructible by the fire and inflammable also. So that kind of wood trees are available in those days. The woods of some of the trees are sap the others, furnishing, penetrating the indelible dyes. They are used for the dyes also. Though apples were there at all periods, in one form or the other, many periods had fruits today are unknown, because there are so many fruits are available. Apples are there all the time, but there are so many other fruits which are unknown nowadays. At times, they were furnished with some of the fruits were furnished with the juices. Even now, we are seeing some of the things. The tree grow container like a god and filled with the sweetish and pungent acid and immediate penetrating and intoxicant. Some of the trees are like that. These are the different types of plants or the trees that were there in the fourth generation. Their nature, how does actually these different kinds of the trees and plants came? Again, if it goes back, again, all these things are generated by the thoughts of the human being. So how these things, suppose if this kind of the fruit is there, how it will happen if you are actually generating that kind of thoughts? If you are so from those thoughts only, the different kinds of color, the things are happening. So we have seen, what we all know is, we thought of, like, suppose as a kid, when we are seeing that kind of the big dabba kind of TV, we saw that we might have thought how the TV can be like a calendar, how it will be. So that kind of thoughts came, and now we are actually seeing all those things in reality. We think these are all the man-made, so that is why. So these are all the man-made means, how can that man-made? That's a thought produced, and then you manufactured it. Those days, thought produced on the plants, because they were dependent on these plants and all those things. They produce on those things and the plants, and they are able to have the different kinds of plants. There were animals also. There are, at the beginning, we talked about plants, flowers, right, and earth crust. Now there are different kinds of animals. Those animals were very huge. Very fierce animals were there in those days, and those animals were domesticated for industrial purposes also. They were adapted and domesticated for industrial purposes, some of the things. And there used to be a fish, right? If you see, the fish shells and scales are so... Sorry. Okay, the fish shells and scales were so much the bigger. The men used to be a ride on the fish. They used to sit on the fish and ride. They go under the water riding on the fish. They could also make the birds fly through the air while the bearing the human riders. With the birds also can take the humans and they can fly the riders. So this is all happened in the previous civilizations. The first wave, the fourth civilization and the fourth earth, they have followed all these waves. In each was many fluctuations and cycles have happened. Some, the trend of events towards the religion, and other tend towards architecture, and some towards the discovery of application of the forces of the nature. See, some here also we can also see that, right? Some are trending towards the architecture. So see, in olden days, like let us say, olden days, if you see the dance, right, whatever our cultural dance and all, so they were limited. They were limited to an activity where a guru is teaching and the disciple is learning, and they used to dance in the temples and all. So it was a kind of a recreational activity in those days. But But now if you see, there are people who are doing a lot of research on that, and in their poses, bhangimas, and how it is affecting the human life, all the things. Similarly, the music, if you take, it was from the recreational things to now, it was became the music therapy. Music is used as a therapy, as a healing power now for many of the things. So how actually, because some people are actually using it, and they are actually putting their brains in it, and putting their thoughts in it, and they are making use of this for the human purpose. So we are all these things happening because of your thoughts. You are keeping that thought in that, and then they are actually doing. At times, human races mastered the air and could make use of the sunlight. They are mastering the air, and they could use that's how the sunlight. There are solar kitchens are available now. How they are able to use the sunlight and cook and use they're mastering that how to use of the sunlight. Such ages, the earth, water, air, fire have succeeded each other many times. So there are the ages. So these are some of the ages. See, again, here they are saying what? Earth, water, air, and fire, right? These are all the things. Some of the times one might have dominated. Some of the other times the fire might have dominated the things. So all these have succeeded in this number of years. When you are running, the human beings know nothing more than their physical environment. When you are coming to the running, so human beings know nothing more than their physical environment. At other times, they know all the things. They know the subtle environments. They know all the things, right? So some of the time, because now if you are taking the generation, so we are taking everything that is existing, that is seen is the true, that kind of thing, right? So this is the physical environment. Suppose if you are able to go inside, if you are able to go see the subtle environments, you are able to go, the unseen things are also you are able to experience, right? So there are times where people are feeling only the physical things are the world, and there are times where they are actually able to feel all the subtle things are also feeling. For the long ages and interests and occupations were concerned with growing and winning the products from the soil. For a long ages, interests and occupations were concerned with growing and winning products from the soil. So what does it mean? So the soil, the earth, right? So whatever the soil, for the long time, how much actually you are actually cultivating, what are the different kinds of the fruits you are able to get it out of the means you are able to cultivate, what are the different kinds of grains that you are able, this is the occupation that was growing, and this is the main industry that it is happening also. At such times there was a great varieties of grains. What is happening that times? There are so many varieties of the grains, fruits, and plants, and the clothing industry also is coming from the actually from all these things. And the pleasures and worship of the people people had to do with this product. The pleasures, so the people pleasures and worships are also based on these products that are coming from the soil. But on other times, what is happening is when we are moving away from that, other times, maybe it's a current time, people started generating everything artificially. So they precipitated for not from these elements, not from the earth or anything. The food has been produced artificially, not from the soil, not from the thing. Artificially, the food can be produced. These elements of these elementals, right? Whenever you are producing the artificial thing, you can produce as desired. So you need not, without growing them from the soil, you are producing from the, that's where actually all the problems are coming. We are not taking anything. If you are not taking the things from the soil or not from that the natural elements, right? Whatever the four elementals, because your body is made up of all the four elements. When your food is also containing those four elements, you are able to blend with it. Suppose your food is coming, all the artificial things are coming into your body, then your body cannot digest that one. That is where we are seeing all the problems now, because artificial food we are taking, and that artificial food we cannot digest because our body is not made up of that artificial thing. Then it will try to reject it, or it will try to form some kind of cyst in your body or some kind of thing. So many cancers, so many other so many things that we are seeing nowadays is all because of this. If you are not producing your food, flowers, fruits, and all from the soil, and if you are going to start using it artificially, these are all the side effects that you're going. Those who had the power of imagination, people are doing even from the threads also. They are saying that all the threads, we are not supposed this material, if you see, this is not anything that came from the cotton or anything. These are all the machine woven, right? So machine woven, this artificially produced material. So here the imagination. So whatever that imagination of a person, he can able to produce the different kinds of colors, all the things, and able to get these qualities by these things. As long as the external things like the clothes and all are things, it will not affect much. Even though it affects, but it will not affect much. But intake, if the food itself is an artificial, then these are the periods where you will be getting into the problems. This was the periods when the fire, air were dominant and the bodies of the people of the age were touched with them. So when artificial things were all happening, right, the fire and air were all the dominant. So that time, these are all the things that is happening to us. So here, with that, the section 5 is completed. So how actually the different kinds of the plants are there, how the different kinds of the earth crusts are there, how the different kinds of the animals were there in that, how the different kinds of the trees are there. So now we will see what will happen. One element. We will see the one element, right? So we will see the time where the earth is dominant. Among the 4 elements, during the time when there is earth age is dominant, when the earth element was dominant, so earth element is dominant on all the people. So in that case, what will happen? So we will just, I may not able to complete, but I'll just see some of the things. When the earth was dominant, people were adjusted to it. People has been adjusted to the earth, and there were the great civilizations surpassing and achievements, anything reported in the history. When the earth element was dominated, people have achieved a lot. And there were so many achievements that was reported in the history. These civilizations were based on, because when the earth element was dominant, everything was based on the agriculture, everything was based on the cultivation. The civilization was more taking from the earth only, because earth is the dominant, right? Based on the agriculture and working with the stones, working with the metals that are available in the earth. So we did everything with that. There's no artificial things. Starting with the use of the animals for the power. We are using animals for power, and civilization were advanced with the complicated measures. These people were operated the force of the nature. How they are actually operated these forces? By the nature forces, this everything was operated. What is that? There is but one force. What is that? It turned into many channels and appears in many aspects. There is only one force that is coming from the earth, was channeled into the many forces. They are channeled into the different forces and is able to use it. It manifests from the earth. The force manifests the light, heat, gravity, the earth gravity, cohesion, electricity, and otherwise. So all the things of the coal from which is coming from the earth, the electricity came, right? So everything is there in this earth element also. It is, but when the earth was dominant, we are able to do so many things because it was manifestation. It manifested differently by whenever you are forcing, whenever you are actually putting your thoughts and actually digging into it. The solid, fluid, airy, and radiant matters on the earth is being continuously decomposed and decomposed. So all these matters. So continuously, the other day I'm just giving an example, how that rose is actually making. When you are seeing a rose, are you able to see? Rose is a beautiful, it's a very beautiful in color, all the things. But are you able to see the earth elements in all the elements in that? That rose came from the earth. It needs a sunshine, it needs a water, it needs an air. Without all these things, the rose did not blossom. So, but when we see the rose, are you able to see those things? We are not, but these are all, with all these elements only the rose came. When the rose has decomposed, okay, when the rose has decomposed, when the rose has, then it will go again into the 4 elements. Similarly, every element has coming from these 4 elements, and again it's going back to the things. The resulting, he say rose coming from the cloud. So how rose is coming from the cloud? Without cloud, there is no water. Without water, there is no plant. Without plant, there is no rose. Similarly, when the rose, the watery of the petals of that rose will again go into the water and again go as a cloud. So these are all intermingled. So here that concept I just studied, when we are all one, right? When we are trying to say everything is, we are all one. We all came from one. We are just decomposing and recomposing, the things are happening. That's all here. And the earth also, continuously there is a decomposing and recomposing things are happening. The resulting, the matter which today, the form of the minerals, coals and oil were different at the different ages. Whatever that was available, coal, oil and everything, it may be looking at different in the different ages, and it may be a different now. Circulation of the same four elements at the four states of the matter of the physical plane is continuously manifesting on the earth. Earth is changing day by day, civilization by civilization, and the earth is changing. How that is? Because the earth, all the four elements and their manifestations and are changing depends on the thoughts. So all these things are actually changing. In the past, it was liberated. It means the wood, coal, oil, whatever in the past is today is different from the previous. Previously, the oil that how we are generating, it's totally different from how we are actually taking up the oil and all, right? The earth crust and the connection of those changes in the cycles of the four ages, earth, water and air, fire, are different with the generations. With the different generations, we are actually seeing the different things. The kind of manifestation of the force depends on the classes of units of earth, water, air, four. So the manifestation, how actually it is depending, it all depends on these four elements only. So the involuntary movements of the nervous system is based on these things, whatever the things, right? Suppose the air, if you are actually taking, suppose if you cannot breathe, so you are doomed, right? So the involuntary, it is happening. So how the air is flowing within you, how actually you are taking that vital energy within you, right? That is happening involuntarily. If we have to take voluntarily, we will forget in one moment and we cannot take it. Because it is happening, so much system in the body is happening involuntarily. All these four elements, air, fire, water and things are happening inside the earth is happening, and automatically things are exterior, because they are all also happening. All the things are happening involuntary system. Indirectly, they are affecting our thoughts, and because of the thoughts, again, we are actually generating and manifesting the things in the world. At the height of the earth, ages and the currents are running through the earth and certain places. So at the height, the earth is running in a different pages. There are permanent in the earth also. In those days when the earth was dominant, they are saying that everything was only on the earth. The roads are there, the broad roads and all this. No transportation on the water, no transportation on the air, because earth element is dominating. So when the earth element is dominating, there are broad and permanent roads were built across the mountains and across the plains. All the things were there. Some of the people did not use water for travel or transportation. Some of these roads into the interior, now also there are some of the roads are there in the interior earth remain there today, because that earth crust was changed, right? So those roads, whatever that fourth civilization or the previous civilizations, the roads were there, they were there in the interiorly. That's why people will say, oh, there in that see, we found this, there we found that. Some of the things that these people who are doing that research, right, they will found, and we will get news now and then. They could focus on the earth force. It could produce the heat, light at any place where it is intercepted, outlet made through the receiving machine. So whatever that the machine, it produce the light. The earth can produce the light and it can be intercepted. So from the earth, it can produce the light, and with the receiving machine, it can able to receive it. There are the people who has processed some of the metals that are there. That metals are used as a cutting machines, and that metals are used for melting and chunking into the solids, and that metals were again burned into the liquids. All these things have happened when the earth was a dominant. Everything that we are using is from the earth. So they had a material which is not woven, solid like a leather, and that could make the proof against the cuts and woods weapons, right? They have that kind of material from the earth. They traveled not on the wheels. They travel not on the wheels, in a closed vehicles which slid easily along the roads. Those vehicles which are sliding easily on the roads. The sleds were metal and sometimes composition which was transport. Those days they do not have those wheels. Distance was particularly eliminated where this travel went along the beneath outer crust of the earth. So the travel has happened on the outer crust of the earth. Inhabited, the whole earth was not inhabited by the people that had reached this stage. Whatever the stage that we have had it now, in those days the entire earth is not having the people. Only the some parts of the earth is having people. Some parts of the earth people are very advanced people, and some parts of the people are very savages kind of the people. So they were not so advanced. They had their sports in those days. They had their sports. The sports are not like a running kind of thing. They have the sports kind of throwing the ball and then making with some friendly combats and all those things, right? That's how the ball games were there in those days. Running was not their thing. Running was not so much featured. They were clever in throwing and catching and intercepting the ball. The ground and the game was ground and the ball is the main thing. The water and the air were foreign to them. They didn't use much. The water and air were foreign and unfamiliar. There are no water sports in those days. Learning was concerned. Learning, what is that learning? All the time when the earth is more dominant, all the learning was happened through agriculture. All the learning was through the agriculture or a metal work or stone making, stone carving, or architecture building. So all these things are the earth currents and their operation. So everything was based on these things only. The languages that they are spoken in those days are different from what we are speaking today. Today we have the sounds. They have some sounds and connotations which are so different from today. There were extended systems of literature, but those literature are different from now. The chief means recording was engraving in the stamping signs and the color of the metal plate. So they used to engrave their literature in the stamping signs and the metal plates. Sheets of the thin metal were rolled and books were made. The sheets of the metal plates were rolled, and that's how the books were made. And fastening by the plates and hinges. They were fastened by the plates and hinges. They used to make it as a book with those thin metal sheets. These sheets were made as a thin and flexible as paper today. Like a paper in those days, those thin sheets were made so flexible. They had a composition made. They made some composition made with the plant, retained the impression of writing. There are other times where they made with the plants and the impressions were still we can see there are plant and in the leaves are also something was written, right? That we also see. These materials are insoluble and not inflammable. In those, there are some of the things were inflammable. There were many such civilizations in each earth age. In each earth age, means each time the earth was actually dominant, there are so many civilizations, not one civilization, there were so many civilizations. They started the rude beginnings because they don't have anything. They started rude beginnings and attained very astonishing heights in those civilizations where the earth is dominant. Other times they bloomed suddenly. Sometimes they bloomed suddenly. Some developments came and information of the wise men came and they have given some information. They started coming to the very wide, means very astonishingly they got improved. So the earth, that is the first stage where the earth was dominated. The second stage is where the water has dominated. So I will stop here. The water domination part we will see the next class. So we have seen the different how actually the fourth civilizations happened and what are the things that happened when earth was dominated. We will see when water is dominated how it happened, or air and all in the following session, the sixth section.